Lesson number 29 and 15th lesson on the grid. We are learning JavaScript and we are learning JavaScript by examples. And in this series, we are trying to recreate this application which is available on our website. And this is what we have done so far. So we have achieved quite a bit of functionality, only a few things left to be done. In last lesson, we learned about this area, and as well as we learned how to calculate the final answer and provide a result in this area. In the actual application, we don't have this text message here. Instead, we have a progress bar. If I type in an answer 0.20, for example, for this one, I get a progress bar in green color, and I get the number of questions that I have attempted as well as the total number of questions. So this area is shown on this progress bar, and in this lesson we'll learn how to create this progress bar, which looks far more professional, far more attractive than this text, simple text here. So I will close this and I will open this folder that we were working on last time. This was the HTML document that we created last time. I have made exact copy of it and I've renamed it to grid 15 for today's lesson. I will right mouse click it and open it with my text editor. You can use any text editor that you want. Creating a progress bar is really not that difficult if you know how to do that. To start with, I will create this progress bar below this text message, which is just here. So I will create a div element and I will give it an ID of background bar, and I will press enter, and I will create another nested div and I will give it an ID of progress bar. So we have two new div elements, and of course divs are invisible elements. So if I save it now and refresh it, we are not going to see any change. However, because these divs have their own IDs, we can target them with in our style area, and we can give them some CSS styles. So I will type in a hash symbol and I will copy this ID, right mouse click it, copy and paste it here, and an opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket. So first thing that I want to do is to give it a height of 20 pixels. If I save it now, you simply should see a gap here of 20 pixels. If I refresh it, of course there is a gap of 20 pixels. The next thing that we want to do is to give it a background color of light gray. Save it, refresh it, and we have a bar that is light gray in color, which is bumping right into the table. So I can say margin and I will give it 5 pixels. If I save it and refresh it, there is a gap of 5 pixels, but notice that the bar is not in the center anymore. If I maximize it, so there's a gap of few pixels here. So change the size of the window one more time and I will say auto. That should fix our issue. If I refresh it, the bar is right in the middle of the page. There's a gap of 5 pixels here and the bar is as big as the table itself. Now the second thing that we have to do is to create is to give some properties to this div. Copy, and I will type in a hash symbol, right mouse click and paste the ID of this progress bar, an opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket. The first thing that we need to do is to give it a height as well, 20 pixels, same as the background bar, and the background color has to be green. If I save it now, refresh it, we see a progress bar that is projected over the background bar and it has the same width as the background. So we can change this just for the viewing purpose. I can say width is 20%. So if I save it now and refresh it, of course the green progress bar is visible 20% of the width, but it is visible in the middle of the background bar. We want to be able to see it on the far left hand side. To do that, we can say position absolute. If I save it now, refresh it, I see a bar that is starting from the left hand side. But if I maximize the browser, notice what happens. So we have a progress bar that is way bigger than the 20% of the width that we want to see. So we will fix that as well. I will change the size of the window, and I will just go into the background area and background div, and I will say position, and I will say sticky. If I save it now and refresh it, we have fixed the progress bar as well as the background bar. The next step is to, when you refresh the application, when you start the application, your progress should be 0. Okay, but right now we are leaving it to 20% so that we can actually see the progress bar. However, the size of the progress bar should increase with the number of questions that you are attempting, and we cannot do that with the help of CSS. We have to create another function. So I will go down to the check answer function, and just after this function, I will create another function, and I will call it move bar. Okay, this is how you create a function, 2 parentheses and an opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket, which has the body of the function. I will create a variable, and I will call it move, which is equal to the counter divided by the total number of questions. Copy it and paste it here, and we want to multiply it by 100 to calculate the percentage of the questions that have been attempted and the number of questions that are there. In case if there are 3 questions, first time this function runs, the percentage should be 33. 1 out of 3 times 100 should give us 33%. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do, we want to target this green bar here with the help of ID, and the ID of this green bar is progress bar. I will right mouse click and copy it, and I will go down to my function again, and I will say document.getElement by ID, 2 parentheses, and I will paste the ID here, and now I'm targeting this green bar with the help of ID here, and I will say style dot width should be equal to this variable, copy and paste it here, and plus percentage sign, because this value will be replaced by this line of code here. So if I save it now, we have to call the function before it will work. Okay, so I will copy the name of the function, and I want to run this function just before anything happens in our check answer function. So if I save it now, refresh it, I will maximize it, type in my first answer, which is 0.97. You see that the progress bar has moved. So I will change the size of the window one more time. Now that I know that my function is working, so I will say 0%, which will change with the help of JavaScript function that we just created, with the help of this function that we just created. So if I save it now, if I haven't done it already, refresh it, just make it a bit bigger, and if I say 0.29, you have 33% of the bar that has been colored green. If I type in my second answer 0.84, I now have 66% of the bar colored green. And if I provide the third answer, which is 0.70, my 100% of the progress bar is colored now. We also want to see this message here instead of just this in this area. So I will change the size of this window again, and I will go down to my function one more time. I will change it. So I will copy this area and I will paste it here, and I will say dot inner HTML to is equal to sign, and I will type in two tick symbols which are on the left hand side of the number 1 on your keyboard. And within these two tick symbols I will say $sign and opening curly bracket and closing curly bracket, and I will copy this and I will paste it here. And then after that I will type in a slash symbol same as this one, and another $sign and an opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket, and I will copy this variable and I will paste it here. Okay, so if I save it now, refresh it, type in my first answer 0.56, I see the number of questions that I have attempted and the total number of questions that is visible in black color. So I can change it to white color. I will have to go back to my progress bar and I will simply say color white. Save it and refresh it, make it big, type in an answer, and I have the green progress bar exactly as it was visible in the actual application. I have the total number of questions. The only thing that we have to do, we want to change this total number of questions to 12 now. And if I minimize, if I change the size of this browser again, and I can very easily change the total number of questions to 12 here, and also the total number of questions to 12 here, and that fixes everything. If I save it now, refresh it, make it bigger, type in my first answer 0.89, I see a result here 0.91, and I see the total number of questions to 12, and I see that I have attempted 2 questions. So that was it for today. I hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next lesson. Thank you very much.